Hi, welcome to Wedio Academy. My name is Ian Moore of Huawei Films, and today I'm going to be teaching you a bit about editing. This one is going to be for a pretty simple commercial spot I did for the roof nest tent. So here is the spot, and then we'll get into it. That is the 30-second version, and then there is also a 1 minute with voiceover.
Nature is calling, and there's no better way to hit the road than with Roof Nest. Its sleek, aerodynamic, and rugged design makes it perfect for any destination. With a simple setup, it pops up in seconds, leaving you with more time to relax and do what you love. So adventure doesn't have to mean hard work anymore. Its strong design and many sizing options makes it perfect for every adventurer. And its elevated views and cozy memory foam mattress makes it comfortable for the entire family. So get out there, experience a simpler life today outdoors with Roof Nest.
Okay, great. So that's our final product there. I'm going to show you the steps of how I put that together. The most important part of the editing process, in my opinion, is the organization. Yes, being creative is important, but you can't be creative if you can't find your footage. So properly organizing bins, keeping everything organized is really important. I run all of my projects off of my RAID here, and the reason that being is because everything's backed up, and it's always good to keep everything backed up so that, again, let's say you're editing on a single external drive and that external drive goes bad, or it's a power drive, and let's say the power goes out in the middle of you editing or something like that happens, and then there you go, your edit's gone. A RAID has fail safes on it. Again, just safety and backups is pretty important. So I made a template which I should be able to share with you guys. They can send a download here, I'm sure, that I created so that every time I open up a new project, I will go ahead and just copy this, just option drag or however you want to do it, or just right click and copy, but copy it and say, this is my project, whatever you're calling it, I'm just going to call that tutorial for now. It doesn't matter, we're not going to use this really. It's just to kind of show you the start here. So I've got my edit, which I'm going to have my current cuts and my previous cuts. Here's where I'm going to take all of my media. For ingesting media, you want to date everything that you get. So whether you shot this yourself or you're getting this from a client or a cinematographer, you're going to want to date when they shot it, ideally, or at least when you got it. It's not mega important unless that date is actually time sensitive or means something, but it's more just for you to be able to keep track of everything. So if you have multiple days, you're going to have a lot of folders here, your day-to-date footage, audio. Then we're on to your edit. So I've created this here. So you're going to go in here and enter in your date. So today is the year 22, April 5th. The show is whatever you call this. For this was the roof nest nest. And episode is not as important for this, but so you might even just get rid of that. But if you are doing something episodic, or maybe you're going to do more more promos for the same client, I would maybe call this Mammoth because that's where we filmed that. The type, I'm just going to call it an edit. There are instances where you would want to make just an assembly project if you have like a really big documentary or feature film and all you're doing is going through and assisting, and then that way an editor can go into that project and only pull out exactly what he needs. Your initials, so everyone knows who worked on it, and there's your version 1. So you're going to open that up, and then that's the start of your project. Anyway, I'm just going to hop over to where we are. So my project organization, these numbers, it's not entirely important how you organize this as long as it is organized and you know what you're doing and you know how to find things, and it's easy for any other editor to open this up and see, oh cool, this is called current cuts. There's only 2 cuts in here. There's a 30-second, there's an edit. This actually had 2 different spots that were made out of the same shoot. So there's something for visible mobile and something for roof nest. So, but either way, there's only these edits. And as soon as you version up and make the new edit, I put it inside assemblies, inside previous cuts here. That can be wherever. It's just, you're not really going to need to get to this again. This is sort of like your own personal, autosave. Let's say something in version 5 wasn't right and you had to go back to version 4. I can see it right here. So the first step to edit this is you're going to want to just make a string out. You're just going to get all your footage all in one place. And this sequence, I'm going to go ahead and name the date of when it was filmed. So 19/08/27. Again, this is called what? Roof nest, Mammoth, Stringouts. My initials, version 1. Selecting which one of these is going to depend on what your final output is going to be. Most stuff is HD, 23:9:8 or 24. It kind of also depends on your camera specs and what you shot that in, which you can take a look at in your footage if you open this up in Red Cine, but it might even show it here. Let's see if I give that information. It might not. But if you open that up in Red Cine, or you open up the options here, click on the footage and it'll tell you in the frame rate. I've already opened this up, so it's kind of too late to look for that. So this will give you HD. All of these don't really matter in Premiere. If you select, this RE, or if you select this, AB or this red, all that matters is everything in here. And you can change all of that within your settings. So your frame size, you want square pixels. That just means 1 pixel means 1 pixel. As simple as that is. If you did film on anamorphic, that's the only thing that you would potentially change. All of these things are kind of old school things that, we're not going to get into. So frame size, that's your standard HD frame size. Let's say you wanted to do a vertical for a phone. You'll just reverse these, 1080 by 1920. Let's say you wanted to do a square format for Instagram, you would just do 1080 by 1080. So yeah, those are all your kind of weird, social media formats, but we're going to stick to, standard 16 by 9 for right now. So we've got our timeline open, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my footage folder. I can just grab this whole folder, plop it in. I'm going to keep the settings. The red was filmed in 4K, and our final product is going to be in 1080. The reason that being is I can now punch in and keep all of that juicy red goodness in there. So I'm going to keep, and minus key to go out. I'm holding down Option down arrow just to bring this all down to the bottom. That's probably one of the other pretty major things, is learning your hotkeys, because that will save you an immense amount of time when you're editing, instead of just doing everything by drag and drop on the cursor. You can drag and drop and grab all of that, or the faster way, Command A, Command All. I'm going to right click and set these to frame size. So yeah, so you've got your string out here, And that's all of your footage all in one place. And now you're going to start finding your selects. So the way I like to do this, I'm a huge fan of color coding. We're going to go back to the final edit here. So all of these colors mean something different. I keep them the same for pretty much every project. They have a slightly different meaning for a commercial versus a documentary versus narrative, but they all pretty much fit in the same way. And I'll explain that right now, and I'll also show you how to make those. Keyboard shortcuts, and right here you can search for label, and so it comes up right here, label. So I've just changed all of the shortcuts for all of these labels to just be numbers. So all I have to do to color code any of the selected clips I'm selecting is just to use a number. So okay, so you change all this. Let's do one just so you can see it. Iris, I'm just going to change iris to 0 now. There we go. Keystroke 0. So now that's going to be an iris color. So we're looking through our footage, and we go, okay, cool. We want to make sure we need him popping up the tent. He comes out, he closes the door. I don't know, maybe I want the shot of him closing the door. So I'm press C, pull out my cut tool. So I've selected a section that I like. Here's something where he comes up and he pops open the tent. Let's say this is for sure something I know I need. These are my own personal numbers for color coding. You can kind of create your own, but this is generally how I do it. So pressing number 1, which I've given red, is spicy. So that's like my really good, oh wow, like there's dirt kicking up, this is a really cool shot, I'm 100% going to use this shot in my edit. Then there's number 2, so we're like, all right, cool, here's the next cool spot. Either drag that up or option click up or down to move those up and down. So number 2, I go, all right, that's a transition. Generally I do that for quick little door closing, hand on the steering wheel, wheels go flying by, that kind of thing. Let's say here's a nice shot of some trees going by. Now this isn't that, we're still on the same clip, but I'm going to call that evergreen. Anything that's just, kind of like this shot over here, the drone shot of nice lake, trees, clouds, that's going to be evergreen. I'm going to call that green. We've got kind of our main actions. I put on 4 and 5, which are the 2 different kind of aqua bluish colors. So 4 and 5 are just guy doing thing, guy doing other thing. Generally I give 5 higher priority than 4. It's like, all right, this is one good take of him doing the ladder, but over here there's a better take of him doing the ladder. So I'm going to call that one a 5. 6 I have set for behind the scenes. 7 is story, or someone talking, generally, or interview, either story or interview. 8, for this color, I have set for product. So any, it'll be a close-up product shot of, like the Roof Nest logo. 9, I generally have a title shot. So I think I don't have it on here because I actually set that to a red because I thought it was great. But so that would be like a shot like, oh yeah, this is a good one to end on, this title shot here. 0 would then be interview or story. These are kind of interchangeable. Generally I do blue as interview, this is story. So those are more documentary style ones, but they can also be, let's say your commercial is kind of a documentary style commercial where people are talking directly to camera. So the reason I do all of this color coding is when I'm looking at the edit, I can tell these are transition shots. These are close-up transition shots. Here's something that has more to do with the story. We get a nice smile. We're building the story here, and then we're doing more transition shots to a product shot, roof nests here on yellow. So when I'm looking at the edit from back here, I have a better feel of what I'm looking at, and when I'm also going in to select clips, which we'll get into here later, I have a better idea of how to organize those clips. So back to the string out, we've gone through, and let's just say we went through all of this footage, we found everything that's all good, and we're super happy with all the clips we found, and we're gonna start kind of making an assembly edit out of this. So I'm going to, and this should exist, so I'm gonna make a new folder in here just for now, for us. I'm just gonna call this ZZ Stringouts, so I can delete it later. So we move that to our Stringouts. We've got our string out. Let's say, these are all color-coded, bunch of cut-up clips. And we're gonna leave this just like this. We're not gonna delete this unused footage because we might wanna come back and find it later. So we're gonna right-click here and duplicate this guy. And I'll just go ahead and call that an assembly. Still version 1. And open that up. So now we've got that opened up. We've got all of our clips. I'm gonna grab everything on the bottom. For that, you can't do a Command-Alt because I wanna leave the top row open. Right-click, ripple delete. So that'll jam all of your selects all the way to the front, all here ready to go. So these are all going to be kind of out of order, because there's, you shot the scene where, maybe he goes to go grab the tent, the scene where he's driving, the other scene. They're all just kind of mashed together, just a bunch of select clips. So you're going to do the same process, duplicate that again, and create your edit. And originally what you'll have is just a bunch of clips all in that string out, those selects. And what we'll do is kind of create, these markers above is generally what I like to do. So I'm thinking, we need to see him drive somewhere. We want him to build the tent. We want the activities of what they do on their trip. And then we need to see them leave.
Once you have an organized project and you have all of your footage gone through, then you can really get creative with it. And when it comes to the creativity of editing, in my opinion, there are no wrong moves. There's nothing wrong you can do. Just try things out and be as wild and insane as you can think, depending on what it is. If you're making a commercial, you want to grab somebody's eye. So maybe even flipping the frame upside down, putting 2 frames on top of each other. Adding weird masks, putting, overlay layers using older part of footage. You don't even need, like a lens flare filter or anything like that. Sometimes when I'm creating, a fun music video scene or something to just add some flair, I'll take, maybe there's a quick frame of some water passing by that the camera operator wasn't even trying to film on purpose. It was just going over the water. And then you can take that footage and just put it over, your main shot and just use one of the source layer types and put that over it. So, or just even change the opacity or anything. Basically take risks and have fun with it. If you're not having fun with it, then people aren't gonna have fun watching it.
So the next important thing with this is gonna be to find some music. So there's basically a couple approved songs over here that I worked with client. So we'll take each one. I'll just pick the one that we did end up with. Generally what I'll do is I'll just take a song, grab a section, and throw it underneath, and stretch that out. Just slap the whole song in there. Let's turn that down a little bit. Not sure how loud this is going to be. Let's see, that part of the song sucks. So does that part of the song. We want something kind of mellow. So I think we just want this. So yeah, like this track with this kind of action in general feels pretty good. So yeah, we're gonna go with this track. Is kind of what I end up deciding out of these choices I had. What I went ahead and did, so I'm going to mute this. I'm going to turn off all of this for right now, just so all we're looking at is the track. What we need to do is we need to make this a 1 minute or less spot. So we need to make that track fit within 1 minute. So we're going to edit it together to make 1 minute section of that song, kind of change the way it fits and moves for our needs. Here's what I came up with. So as you can see, I just used kind of the mellow part of this song from the beginning and from the breakdown here in the middle of the song. All of these other parts were a bit too heavy. We just want something to kind of bring it through. So we've got that. And then so we've got a 1 minute section. You kind of figure out where the beat is on each one so that you keep it all in time with what the time of the track was, and use I like to use these. There's two different fade out transitions. There's your standard come to the end, right click, apply default, or you can use the pen tool with the P key and add dots in, and those dots can then move around and you can have a bit more control over how a track fades in or out. That's the same thing for video. Okay, my track has now been finished and I know it fits within my 1 minute time limit. I have it all right here, and I'm going to need to make the edit fit within that. So here's my track and my opening sound effect. As you can see, this is the whole story that edit's going to become, and it needs to fit within here. So we need to figure out where these cuts are going to go. A good rule of thumb is that you want something to happen every 3 seconds, whether that be a cut or a reveal. If it's a single shot, basically you want to keep the viewer engaged every 3 seconds with something new. For the opening of this video, if we go back to my cut, the first note of the song shows up right when the car is revealed here. So we've got, and then something important too, if you don't have it, is to make sure audio scrubbing is on. Up here, preferences, audio, play audio while scrubbing. So when you're looking at your music and you can tell that's a hit, so you want to change on that, which I'll probably have to see why I decided to change one after later, but generally you're going to want to change on each. Note change, you can hear that. Hear that note change, or that next beat, and those are really good places for cuts. They feel right, they won't feel jarring if it's right on a nice note. Here's a good example of a transition edit. There's definitely a lot of different ways to transition in your edits. One of them, being a dissolve if you are into that kind of thing. Personally, I'm pretty starkly against it, but if you wanted to, you would right click between these two, apply defaults, and you're gonna have a fade right here. I just personally hate them. I like to transition with a lot of quick cuts, 3 kind of being a good number. So we're here with with the couple and the little girl. They look out. We've got a rack focus out to the mountains, and that kind of ends their story of camping for the night. So we need to get to the next scene of All right, they're off and they're driving, and we have our title shot. So really quickly, it's 3 shots of lid closing from a medium to an extreme close-up of latch closing to another close-up of door closing. So we've got 3 quick close-ups of something happening. We know that he's closing this all up and we're ready to get out of here. Cutting to our medium shot of truck driving, cutting to our kind of more wide shot that we leave out on. The next step is to kind of build that ambiance for this. So I'm going to turn these guys back on. I'll keep the VO muted. I'm going to mute the songs. So the same way that I color code my video, I like to color code my audio so that it's really easy to understand what's what. So all of these orange clips are all going to be sound effects. They definitely wanted a very nature kind of feel. So I added a lot of, kind of birds chirping, forest noises, all of that sort of thing. So we open up with all of this birds chirping. You hear the car drive. We hear the car pull up onto dirt. There's straps, clicking. Sometimes noises that don't make any sense kind of feel nice. If you notice, there's actually an ocean noise in here. This one right here is like birds on the ocean. It kind of just fit when he was opening up the tent, and it's so quiet once everything's happening, you don't really notice it. But that also accompanies the rise of this part of the song here, this added part. So there's kind of no wrong way to add sounds. That's actually something I learned from my dad, who's a sound editor, and on Chicago Hope, which probably every single person watching this will have no idea what that was, but it was a huge drama back in the day. And there was a scene I remember watching him work on over and over again where he added a lion's roar to a gunshot, and you just barely hear it, but it ends up sounding really cool. As long as it's subtle and no one knows why or what they heard, you can do a lot of really fun things with sound effects. And layering and adding small little bits here and there is definitely helpful to building a whole scene here. So if you'll notice too, it gets a bit quieter here with sound effects because we're kind of hitting the heavier part of our song. So you don't want to be fighting too much. And also, your VO starts to get pretty constant. So you want to make sure you're not battling and you're keeping those pretty even. I guess that's kind of the only thing with sound effects. Again, you can see I'm using that pen effect here, with the P key to really kind of move these. I think they're bird chirps here again. This is the car. Yeah, so you hear the car kind of rev up and down because this is a constant rev. But I wanted to make it, kind of turn the corner. So I kind of played with the pen key here just to give it a few, some more dynamics. That's your sound effects. You've got that. And then finally what you're going to want, obviously, is for your voiceover to cut through and sit right out that top layer there, because that's, the most important part. So audio gain here. So that's a good tool too, this audio gain. You don't want to overdo it with this because it can definitely make things sound kind of crunchy. But if you need to boost the signal a little bit, this was kind of a low budget thing. So I think this was just recorded on an iPhone if I remember right, which sounds pretty good for that. But again, right click, audio gain, and if you need to punch it up just a little bit, that's a good tool to just quickly fix that.
Nature is calling, and there's no better way to hit the road than with Roof Nest. Its sleek, aerodynamic, and rugged design makes it perfect for any destination. With a simple setup, it pops up in seconds, leaving you with more time to relax and do what you love. So adventure doesn't have to mean hard work anymore. Its strong design and many sizing options makes it perfect for every adventurer. and its elevated views and cozy memory foam mattress makes it comfortable for the entire family. So get out there, experience a simpler life today outdoors with Roof Nest.
Thanks for watching this tutorial on editing. Hopefully you found it helpful. My name is Ian Moore of Wowie Films. If you want to find any of my work or have any other editing questions, you can always find me on Instagram at Wowie_films or www.wowie.com. Thanks.